Welcome into another episode of the OBR Prospect Spotlight here on the OBR Streaming Network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us that thumbs up if you're checking us out. We appreciate it. The last OBR Prospect Spotlight went to 2.8 thousand, so thank you guys for tuning in for that. We really appreciate that. I'm your host, Jacob. You can find me at Roachism13 on the X, or you can find me on the OBR.com, which is where I do most of my interaction because I hate social media. I welcome in returning guest, Mr. Bill Sparks tonight. Bill, how you doing, brother?
I am doing fantastic. We're recording this on Thursday night before Notre Dame and Penn State kick off, and we get to watch Drew Aller either blow up Notre Dame's defense or come out Friday morning and say all those rumors of me coming out was just a joke. It was a prank. I'm going back to school. But there's no in between. So it's going to be a good night. We're here to talk some draft crushes, I think is what we're going to kick off tonight.
Yeah, man. Some early draft crushes for the Cleveland Browns here. I've got 3, you've got 4. One of those guys doubles as one for both of us. So we're gonna kind of not super speed run, but just kind of run you through a couple of names, just some guys that just like, it's not even necessarily like some of these guys for me are really good fits for the Browns, but they're also just, there's something about that game that I'm just like, I would like to see more of that on a regular basis. So I'll give you the floor, man. Hit me with your first one.
Yeah, so my first one, we're going to start big, and it's the one that doubles up for both of us. It's Eliah Mann from the wide receiver from Stanford. And when I say he doubles up and he's big, this is 6'2", 210. He's got a size. He's got a speed profile. He's got excellent hands. He can run routes very well. His run blocking is vicious. I'm pretty sure his run blocking is criminally illegal in at least 15 states. I would bet on that. The other big thing, he's a redshirt sophomore. This is a young guy that's going to develop. You could put him on the boundary and move Judy inside to the slot. You could put him and Judy on the outside and go get another slot receiver. I cannot get enough of this kid and his, like I said, his run blocking. I watched run block where he blocked someone from the red zone 25-yard line all the way into the tunnel. He escorted him to the Uber, and that's how far it went. But I can't get enough of him. And he has a round 1 grade for me right now, and I'm higher on him than the field. But I definitely think he'll be in that top 32 prospects come draft night.
Yeah, and one thing about that too is in a wide receiver class that's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to call it a bad wide receiver class because I think it's just a down year compared to the last couple because we've had so many loaded wide receiver classes. I don't want to call it. I think it's weaker by comparison, but not necessarily in and of itself a bad wide receiver class. One thing about Eliah Mann that really caught me, the first thing I found out about this guy, I was doing an online dynasty when NCAA, when College Football 25 came out. I was doing an online dynasty. I got Stanford. I'm like, oh, cool, look, I've got a star wide receiver. Didn't know much about him at that time. If you run a little crosser drag route with Eliah Mann, you're going to take it to the house every time because he's big and physical off the line of scrimmage, and his speed at that size is just – it's stupid. You're not supposed to have that kind of blend of size and speed. And like you said, man, that dude wants to block you. If you were talking about like what's something that really made Cedric Tillman make a ton of sense for the Browns, he could block. He makes an impact as running. They always say no block, no rock. Like you're not going to be out there if you can't block, especially if they lean back into the bread and butter of the wide zone and some of those things where they really depend on their wide receivers to block. He's got that like road grader mentality. And it's just the size, speed. It's all there for him, man. And it would just be a lot of fun. I have this like dream where they trade back a little bit and add another top 40 pick somewhere, and they're able to stash him at 33 because they get that first pick of the second round. And if Eliah Mann are still there, I'm like, well, let's get a little weird and let's do that. So I'm with that.
Let's pick it and stick it.
And since we're gonna double down on that one, man, I'll let you go with your second one since that counted for both of us.
That's fair. So the next one is going to be a linebacker, and I know Browns fans are probably thinking we don't necessarily need linebacker, but with JOK's health, this guy, he's going to come in and he's be a suitable, very suitable replacement. It's Carson Schinger. I think that's right. Schinger from UCLA. This guy has a motor like your neighbor's Lamborghini that runs hot left to right all game long. 136 tackles, folks. That's not a typo. This guy is all over the field, up, down, left, right, everywhere, making plays. I can't get enough of him. I love him. He reminds me a lot of Logan Wilson from the Bengals, that same kind of athletic tackling nightmare that always seems to find his way around the ball somewhere. And I just can't get enough of him. He's at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, and I'm very excited to see him tear it up down there. And I would love for the Browns to be able to get him at the top of like round 3, but I'm very concerned that he's going to get down there and he's going to launch himself up into the top 50. And then we'll have to have the conversation of taking a linebacker in the top 50 because he's that good of a player.
And he's one of those guys that a lot of people are not going to, especially Browns fans, are just that West Coast situation where I know they play more games now that they're in the Big Ten. Wait, they're in the Big Ten, right? Am I stupid?
No, they're in the Big Ten. You're right. Which it still doesn't make sense to me.
It's a mess. So I'm like, I don't know. But like you see them more now that they're playing, but like it's UCLA. You don't think about UCLA a ton when it comes to defense. So you might not, that may be a new name for you. Yeah. I will stick on the defensive side. If you haven't heard about this guy, I'm not sure. He's gaining some steam for me. TJ Sanders, the defensive tackle from South Carolina. That South Carolina defense as a whole, but that defensive line in South Carolina has been insane this year.
Monsters.
Left and right. You're like, okay, which one do you want? Which one of them would you like? But TJ Sanders to me just screams Jim Schwartz defensive tackle. Like just absolutely at the top of his lungs screams it. I really love the acceleration and the get off the line of the scrimmage. He's violent, strong at the point of attack against the run. I think he's got the arm length is really nice. He's able to play with good leverage to, chuck and shed blocks and get people off of him. I think he's got some good hands. There's some like kind of a rip move, a hand swipe. He can win with speed. He can win with power. And I just think that, they've played him literally. He's played defensive tackle he's played defensive end to to nose tackle. He's played the 4 tech. He's played the 0. Like he has gone all the way through there, and he's done it at a good level. 6'4", 290. So yeah, he's going to be more of your pass rusher than anything. Don't always love some of that lateral quickness and things, but when he's going straight forward and in a straight line, it's really good. But I just think nice, really good athlete, wins with speed, wins with power. Whenever you can get a guy that can do both of those things, and he's not a liability against the run. Like I think he's stout at the point of attack. Again, not going to move crazy left to right. He's not really going to be like absorb double teams a ton really, really well because of the 290 size, but like he can anchor. He can anchor in the middle, especially if like you're in a situation where you're putting a NASCAR package on and you want to put him at the 1. It's like him in there, kind of inside Michael Hall, Myles Garrett. Maybe you get a little freaky and add Abdul Carter to that line too, and just like, what the hell are we doing here, buddy? Let's
just full send it. Just at that point, full send it. Let him go. I love TJ Sanders. My comp for him is Quinnen Williams. He's that same mold of a guy, and if you put that next to Miles, it's chef's kiss. You love to see it.
It's just
absolutely love to see it.
It's right there. And then you've got that guy in case Mike Hall needs a little bit more time. It was an MCL, not an ACL, so we're a little bit more confident about that. But yeah, TJ Sanders, South Carolina defensive tackle. Back to you, Bill.
Yeah, so I am going to stick with the defensive side of the ball as well, and I'm going to go back to the West Coast. I'm going Cam Stone, the defensive back from Hawaii, at the Hula Bowl this week. I've seen some clips. He is a violent tackler, and I've seen him with his nose around the ball, forced a lot of turnovers. 6 foot even, 200 pounds, has run a 4.5. So he's a little bit slower for the boundary, but a perfect slot guy. His coverage ability, he can shadow a wide receiver like nobody's business in man-to-man coverage. He's really good in zone coverage. He has the ability to go after the ball, even at being 6 foot. My comp for him is Rondé Barber. He plays just like Rondé Barber did in Tampa Bay. And this is a guy, if you truly wanted a true slot nickel corner and wanted to just have Ward and Emerson on the outside and potentially move on from Newsome, this is your guy on day 3. He's at the Hula Bowl, and right now he's already opening some eyes. He opened mine. I went back and watched the tape on him, and I love that there was one hit I saw. He hit a person so hard they went from the hash marks to the bench. At that point, I would just stay on the bench. I'm not going back out there with Cam Stone flying around like that. No, sir. But he's a name to watch, and he's a sleeper, especially being on the West Coast, because who watches Hawaii football outside of people in Hawaii? But he's at the Hula Bowl, and I can't get enough of it. It's just, if the Browns took him on day 3 as a slot corner or even as a gunner on special teams, game over. It's game over. I will toss it back to you, sir, for your next one.
Last time I watched Hawaii football was with the late great Cole Brennan. Mm-hmm. Oh man, Cole Brennan, man. That dude was, when he was at Hawaii, may he rest in peace, but that dude was slinging that rock.
Oh my goodness. I wanted him to be when he came to the pro level, he was a few years too early. Could you imagine him in the offenses? Put him in Mike McDaniel's offense in Miami.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'd shred some shit, man.
Oh, he'd rip it up.
It would be so much fun. All right, I will go to offense, but I'll talk about somebody that wants to take your soul. Wyatt Milam, the left tackle from West Virginia.
Yes.
Some people will talk about the 42-inch arms and say, hey, and he's kind of stiff at the hip, kind of like the bend there can be not what you want to see. And some people are going to say, well, maybe he's a guard. That's fine. I don't care. He is going to put you in the dirt. And he's going to do that as a pass protector, not just as a run blocker. Like, yeah, when he's a run blocker, he wants to put you down. But, like, if you think you're going to get into the chest of Wyatt Milam, I got some news for you. He's going to put you down. Like, I think he moves better than some people will give him a little bit of credit for. A little bit leaner, but he has really the height, the length, not counting his arms. He's got good length, good size, a little lean, but I think of course I didn't bring it up. You would think I would have like measurables brought up because this is like a podcast.
It's fine. We'll do it live.
6'6". Yeah. So, I love his hands are violent, man. Like he wants to jolt you, like in whatever he's doing, he wants to pop you, shock you, kind of knock you off your rhythm, confuse you, disorient you a little bit, and then he's going to take control. He's going to disorient you first, then he's going to take control. Let's see. The play strength, I think, is great. I think he's a better athlete than you think he is. He climbs and pulls pretty well, especially for a guy mixing it up at 6'6". I just think his timing and his recognition of, like, this is something I want to tell you. Wyatt Milam has been a multi-year starter, and over the last 3 years at left tackle, he has allowed the same amount of sacks as somebody who hasn't played football ever, 0. In 3 full years at left tackle, the last 3 years, he has allowed 0 sacks.
None.
And he wants to hurt you. He wants to snatch your soul and throw it out off the field. He wants to take control. He's going to bring the fight to you, and he's going to take you down. So that, to me, that's a football player I love. I just love the mentality that Milam plays with. And even if you think, hey, man, I think he's got to be a guard, some of these lengths, some of the stiffness, the lateral quickness is not always as great as I would love it to be. But like, I think he does kind of the lateral quickness with the speed rushers, not the moving skills, because I think his pulling and climbing skills are there. And you may say, I just need him inside. I want to move him inside. Okay. Draft him as the heir apparent to Joel Bitonio.
Yep.
And you'll just keep on riding with Wyatt Milam. So that's where I am with him. I'll pass you up for your – look at that. We're almost done. We'll pass you over to you for your last one.
So my last one, we're going to stay on offense, and I'm not a numbers guy, but I'm going to throw some numbers at you, all right? 6'4", 265 pounds. 4.6 40-yard dash time.
Huh?
Take that in. 6'4", 270, 4.6 40-yard dash time. In 2022, 21 missed tackles forced. In one game versus Colorado, a 3-touchdown performance. It's tight end Jaylen Conor from Texas Tech, folks. This guy is an athletic nightmare. This is a guy you can put in the slot. You can put him in line. You could put him as a power slot. You could run him as a wildcat quarterback direct snap. Everybody's always talking about Tyler Warren and what he does for Penn State. Jaylen Conor has been doing that for Texas Tech and Arizona State. And he's at the Shrine Bowl. He is going to open some eyes, because this is a guy, like we just said, he's got that size. He's got that yards after the catch ability. If you're 6'4", 270 and you're running a 4.6 40, I don't care who you are. You will find your way onto an NFL roster somehow, some way. Can you imagine if we had him in a 12 personnel package with David Njoku? Absolutely. I don't care who the quarterback is. You could have Doug Peterson suit back up and go be the quarterback. He'll make it work at that point.
I figure it out.
He'll make it work at that point. He'll figure it out, because you got an athletic nightmare like that. And having Njoku on one side, Conyers on the other, I'm good. You could throw 3-yard screens all day long. You throw the tight end screen 75 times a game. That's fine. He'll just get 1,000 yards from it.
Just alternate between the two.
Yeah,
here's
exactly.
one for David. Here's one. Everybody gets a screen pass.
Yeah. The commentators are like, is it another tight end screen? Yep. And it's a gain of 9.
Oh, well, all right. Yeah. That's it. All right. Yeah. Hey, just tight end screen them to death. I don't give a shit.
No. When you're that size and you run like that, you watch him even on deeper routes, he separates. Yeah. So it's not just a 4.6, it's a 4.6 with some acceleration. He's a little bit of a tweener, because he's probably too big to play wide receiver, and he's probably a little bit too slow to play tight end, and you have that conversation. I don't care. At certain points, when you're building out an NFL offense, give me a baller, and that's what he is. He's a baller. And you can't teach size, you can't teach speed. Guess what he's got? Size and speed. I'll teach him how to catch. I'll teach him how to block. I'll teach him how to run routes, which, by the way, he can do all of those things. He can't. His big issue is that he's average as a blocker. He's not the great inline blocker of the world. Guess what? You don't have to be. If I have solid offensive linemen, I'm okay with that. I just need you on the occasional throw a block now and again. Give an effort, and he gives that effort in spades.
Guess what? They already taught one tight end how to block. That was a physical freak.
Mm-hmm. They can do it again.
Yeah. All right, man. This is it for me here. Final one. A little bit of a homerish pick. I understand that, but if you can find a way to get Travion Henderson to stay in the state of Ohio and take him to Cleveland, I would kill over I don't think I'd ever get to experience because it would kill me from joy. I would never
Yes.
even actually get to see him suit up. I saw Connor Rogers, NFL Stock Exchange podcast host. If you haven't checked that out, please make sure you do. It's a fantastic draft podcast. But he really highlighted it, and I kind of hadn't thought about it this way. He said they dialed his touches back to about 8 to 12 a game. He's somewhere in that sweet spot around 10, 11, maybe 9 touches, and he's absolutely flourished. And that's 100% accurate. I don't think Henderson is going to go into the NFL and become a workhorse back. We have seen him have health issues when he's done that. But this year, with splitting reps with Judkins, he's been a force. It's like, and maybe it's Nick Chubb comes back, or maybe it's a different running back or something like that. But Judkins is going around just destroying people, running them over, weaking them out, and then all of a sudden if you get Henderson on the edge, on the outside, you get 66 yards touchdowns, like we just saw against Oregon. He's got the explosive speed. He might not run like a 4.2 or anything like that, but like he's got speed to burn.
Yep.
And if you want to see exactly, he's got another gear that he can bust out in the middle of runs. And that 66-yard touchdown, watch him cross about midfield. He gets to about the 45, 40-yard line of Oregon, and you actually see him look over. Because there was a couple of safeties that had really good angles on him. They were going to catch him at, I don't know, the 15, 20-yard line, something like that. It was going to be a big run, but they were going to catch him. And you kind of see Henderson just kind of do one of these, and then he's like, nah.
And it's just juice. It's all gas, no brakes.
And then you go watch, I think it was against Penn State, where they used him as a lead blocker in the run game, and he was snatching dude's souls. He was like, oh, if you think because Henderson's this explosive, quick back, and you're like, he's not that big. Like he's not small, but he's not like Audric Estime or anything crazy like that.
Right.
He's not a 220, 230 back. If you're like, I think I can take this guy on with lowering my shoulder. No, he's got some pop. There's some pop in TreVeyon Henderson, and he's got that kind of dog mentality. I know we kind of like joke about that a lot, like, oh, he's got that dog in him, but I think Henderson does. And I think he's made great strides as a pass protector. He's a great pass catcher, reliable kind of guy. I think he's more than just like a screen. I'm not going to line him up in the slot, do anything super crazy like that. But like, oh, is he going to just like leak out and kind of run a Texas route or something of that nature? And you're just, oh yeah, no, he can do those sorts of things. But he's a home run hitter who is he's best suited as a 1B. He's that 1B to somebody else's 1A. But if you've got Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm not saying he's the athlete Jahmyr Gibbs is, because Jahmyr Gibbs is a special athlete. But what Jahmyr Gibbs is to David Montgomery is what I think TreVeyon Henderson can be to somebody else.
See, I'm glad you mentioned that, because do you know what my comp is for TreVeyon Henderson? It's David Montgomery.
Okay.
He's gonna be the Montgomery to someone's Gibbs, because I think Gibbs is just a little bit more athletic, and I think the same thing. Henderson doesn't have that top level athlete. He's not a great pass catcher like Gibbs is, but it's that same concept. You have him be the Knuckles to someone's Sonic. Henderson is going to be the Knuckles to someone's Sonic, whether that's Nick Chubb or whether they double dip at running back in this class because of how deep it is. I don't think there's a single person on planet Earth that would fault them for that. I wouldn't.
Could you imagine, like, I just thought of this. Could you imagine, like, Katron Allen and TreVeyon Henderson? The power back from Penn State for non-nerdy draft people.
Mm-hmm. I'll do you one better. TreVeyon Henderson with Dylan Sampson from Tennessee.
Yeah, well, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
You'd just be exhausted.
Yeah, you're just out of gas. Like Dylan Sampson rips off a 70-yarder, and you're like, oh, okay, we're good. Here comes TreVeyon, and then he just rips off 66.
And you're like, oh, it's like, well, I give up.
Yeah. All I'm saying is TreVeyon Henderson Dylan Sampson in the backfield, David Njoku and Jaylen Conor at tight end, Wyatt Milam on the left side. Your wide receivers are Judy and Tillman and Io Manor. At that point, it doesn't matter who's quarterback. You're loaded.
You just put it in one of those guys' hands and just kind of rumble and tumbling.
Yeah, just put it in their hand. Give them the ball in space and let them work. Let them cook. That's all you got to do.
Well, Bill, I appreciate you for joining me yet again, man. Real quick before we jump off here, tell everybody where they can find all your stuff.
Oh, yeah. You can find all of my stuff on X at Sparks Scouting. I'm also a writer and analyst for CadesDraftRoom.com, as well as I also am on podcasts at NFLDraftFanatic.com and the Draft Professor YouTube channel. Go check those out. We have daily draft content over there as well. But most of my stuff is housed on X at Sparks Scouting, and you can find it all there. Come talk with me. Come talk draft with me. I promise there is no wrong draft take. I will argue every single take to the death. Unless it's actually a good one, then I probably will tell you I'm going to steal it. But yeah, I mean, I talk ball. That's just what I enjoy doing. I mean, right now my 2025 big board is sitting 400 plus prospects, and we've already started the 2026 and some of the 2027 big board too, because that's just how crazy I am when I grind the tape out.
You know, sometimes you just gotta grind some tape. There's nothing. You just grind tape. And is there anything else to do with your free time? No, there's not. Grind tape.
Yeah, grind tape. That's it. Pop in another tape of Travion Henderson taking someone's soul, and you feel better.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to the OBR YouTube channel. Make sure you go over to theobr.com. We got a 30% off annual subscription right now. Tons of insider knowledge about the coaching hires and some of the other moves that are coming over. So you want to go over there, make sure you take advantage of that stuff. I'll see you earlier than you think. Maybe there's a new show coming to the OBR. I don't know. We'll find out next week. But until then, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And you stay classy, Cleveland.
See you then.